Hello, and welcome to Blockchange Solidarity, the podcast where we ask what blockchain can do for us. What is blockchain? What is crypto? Could it rescue us from our current dystopia? Come with us as we explore the very real potential to enhance human freedom, and as we delve into the darker side, predicting the Bond-villain potential of this current bleeding edge. Join us, a group of friends, in a pub style, as we discuss the overlaps between this technology and politics, economics, the environment, culture, and sci-fi, to understand for ourselves the seemingly mysterious, futuristic world on our horizon.
Yeah, cool. Alright, so let's launch into this. Bang bang, welcome back to Blockchain Solidarity. Thanks for listening, folks. This week we're doing a little bit something different. We're deciding to do a little crypto crime series for the next 3 episodes, because right now in the crypto world everything is a shit show in terms of that seems to be crumbling all around us. There's so many idiots out there, disabuse trust and faith and money, basically, in all sorts of different ways. So right now the big scandal is FTX, as everyone knows. We're going to do that for the next episode, but for now we picked one that kind of caught everyone's interest in the team, which is, and mostly because, not mostly, but a bit of it because of the title of this crypto scam. It's called Safe Moon. Oh my god, like Safe Moon, that should have been a red flag from the start. But we're going to cover that today because it's just so ridiculous, and the folks involved are so ridiculous. We'll put the YouTube episode for this in the link in the description, because we've kind of taken it largely from fully from a CoffeeZilla YouTube documentary. This guy is superb. Check out his stuff, CoffeeZilla, if you haven't already. It's like so juicy, so easy to follow. He makes it so entertaining, and it's short. It's not like long things. Like this was 40 minutes. But yeah, we'll put that in the description. You can follow it on if you find this episode that we're going to do interesting. And we're joined by Kyle again. Kyle's back. Kyle did the soccer sports and crypto app a few weeks back. Kyle, good to have you back, buddy.
Yeah, good to be here, mate. How's it going? All good?
All good. Kyle's still in England, in Brazil now. I've just moved from Argentina just a few days ago, which is where I met Mel. She's a girl in the team, which is great to have because mostly it's been men so far. Mel's in Buenos Aires. Mel, nice to have you in the team. How are you feeling today?
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, all good. And we're all, you both, Kyle and Mel, they're not complete newbies to crypto, but certainly curious in a few ways on it and finding their feet, like a lot of our audience is. So hopefully they can bring a perspective of somewhat outside looking in. Hey?
I said I'm no stranger to a scam. A little bit rusty on crypto, but
no stranger to... That's true. Well, God, nowadays it seems like none of us are bloody strangers to crypto scams. My
exactly.
God, I think part of the reason why we're doing this, folks, listeners out there, as we've said all along, we're pro crypto, pro blockchain, but for the angle of it, the uses of it that are actually good for the world. We never hid the fact that there was an element of crypto, there is an element of humanity, an element of life that is just fucking dark, dystopian, and needs called out. And this is exactly what we plan to do with this. You have to present the dark to bring out the light a little bit more. So let's get stuck into it. Safe Moon. Oh my god, what a load of bonkers this is. Kyle, you're going to start us off. So why don't you lead us in any which way you want? We'll go along with you and hopefully tell this story for the audience to find it interesting. But where does it all begin? Where does this nightmare begin, eh?
Yeah, no problem, yeah. Well, the creators are currently being sued and investigated by the FBI. The name of the creator is called Kyle, my namesake. He believes in QAnon, has a distrust of the government. And, I was listening to that. I was thinking, is this actually me? I was like, oh, no, I don't believe in QAnon. But, yeah, distrust of the government, that certainly stands for me. And then also,
we all would. That's a good point, though. We all would see ourselves in Kyle a little bit, right? A lot of people in crypto are kind of anti-government, right? As well,
yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah.
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 Anyway, he first created a coin called Give Me Your Money token, GMYM, which is a little bit fishy, right?
Stop.
So, yeah, that was in his back catalogue. And
Repeat.
A bit of a red flag,
massive
if you
red
ask
flag.
me. But
yeah.
okay.
But I wonder how obvious that is for people that invest in Safe
So
Moon.
just-
You wouldn't know, would you?
Just to repeat that for the audience that might have missed that. Repeat the name of the token that he made. This was pre-Safe Moon. So what was the name of that token again?
So it's called Give Me Your Money token.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
For all the people out there listening who are wondering, like, is crypto just the whole thing a scam? When people are so blunt in the face and go, "Give me your money token," like, I don't know, you kind of feel like there are a lot of people are just like, "Come on, why do you think we're skeptical about crypto?"
Yeah.
When you have crypto bros like this doing this.
Yeah.
Anyway, keep going. Yeah, what a joke.
Yeah, so Safe Moon was inspired by a previous token called B token. Kyle basically copied the code and then launched it himself and raised the tax to 10%, called it Safe Moon, whereas before B token had a 5% tax. So on every transaction, 2% would stay with holders and 3% would go into a liquidity pool. So yeah, he obviously adapted that a little bit and raised the tax. I don't know if you're aware of B token before, Alex, or sounds like you just copied the code.
No, I wasn't aware of B token.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of B token, and my impression, and I don't know a lot of people that have mentioned B token before, so I don't think it was that well known. But we are going to find out later what B token was. That was a total scam as well. But it's important to note at this stage that so you're saying this guy Cal just basically took the same code from B token and just upped the tax, basically.
Pretty much.
So it started off. That's another red flag, right?
Are you allowed to do that? Can you just copy codes like that? Are they not patented, etc.? Are they? I guess it's just. Is it open?
No.
You're not allowed to.
No, they're not. That's the whole.
Why would they go
Oh no, you
across
are
the
allowed to.
internet?
That is the. That's actually just for people out there listening and asking if that's suspicious. It's called open source technology for a reason. It's and that is the overwhelmingly good thing about this crypto technology, that it's open. It can be bettered because it's out there. Anyone can fix it, can spot scams in the code, and fork the code to change it. And yeah, often you get idiots like this who just change it and up the tax, like, or whatever. But it's certainly, that's called open source forking.
Yeah.
So that's perfectly fine. But he did just take B token and just put a so it's hardly innovative. He just upped the tax. So I guess that's the point.
Yeah, because Elon Musk, he had to get the code off Twitter. It took him a while to get it, didn't it? What did he pay? 44 billion in the end.
Yeah, that's true. That's Web 2. That's not open source. Though,
Yeah.
So that's why he had to pay
Crazy
so
money,
much.
isn't it?
It's crazy money. But just what did these guys say? Let's just introduce it now. B token. Basically, they said this. We're going to meet a fella later on in the story, a guy called Papa. But let's just tell everyone now. They left B token because B token was a bit of a rug pull, wasn't it?
It was eventually, yeah. And Safe Moon's kind of tag was "No rug is possible. Join us on our journey to the moon." Again, it's like another red flag, isn't it? They're already kind of saying, "No rug pull, no rug." It's like, okay.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, was it Papa that said, he admitted, B token was like a mini rug. Mini rug pull. Rug pull, for everyone listening, is just basically where it's a fraud, essentially. Like, it's a way for a lot of money to be collected into the crypto project, and then the code is such, it's not safe enough. There's no security, and not enough security to keep the deposits of the folks like me and us, the little guys, and so the code isn't safe. It's not secure. The deposits aren't secure, which leaves the main people, the core team, the devs, the executives. They just whisk that money away in an instant, and that's what they were able to do with B token. And in this documentary, wasn't it, that Papa said B token was a mini rug pull, but we're different at SafeMoon. And do you remember what did he say? What was the reason? Do you remember, Kyle, about why he said SafeMoon was different?
I can't remember why. I think he just. Oh, well, he did say that if they were to rug pull, that they would have to go to prison. It's likely that they get. And that was their thing. Was say we're not going to do that. because we'll be liable. But I think it turns out they weren't that liable.
Well, it was even simpler than that. It was B token's a rug pull, but we're not going to be a rug pull, and the reason was trust us. We won't do that. Do you remember that? He's like, we're not going to do that. So
it was all a thing of, hey guys, we promise you this will be cool. We promise that nothing will happen. It was basically, your money is safe because it's with us, which is like the worst reason ever to trust someone with your money.
You guys will remember this. CoffeeZilla called it a pinky promise. What was it? A pinky promise protocol.
I remember that bit now.
It's just like trust us on that. So carry on. What's next in this story? It came from B token. Carry on.
Kyle never really expected it to explode quite like it did, because obviously it was all just mayhem. So he hired more people. The first being Thomas Smith, aka Papa. So he's a grown man that tries to get people to call him Papa. So that's again another red flag, right?
That's another red flag.
Yeah, he was the lead developer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What in the Stranger Things, right?
Yeah, definitely.
What in the Stranger Things? Because in Stranger Things, there is like this scientist that he tells all the kids that he's looking, after. You must call me Papa.
I don't remember that bit. And was that in the new one?
Yes, it takes. No, I mean that happened in like season 1 because it's like the scientist that leads the project where 11 is held.
Okay.
So there were a lot of memes and stuff coming out of that. But it adds another layer of creepiness to the whole Coleman Papa thing.
We've not even mentioned his beard yet as well. He
really does. I mean,
he looks like a wizard, a crypto wizard.
Oh God, crypto wizard, like the Saruman though of Lord of the Rings, not the Gandalf.
Yeah,
he's like the evil Saruman version, Yeah, but that is weird, isn't it? Like, you're right to bring that up. Like both, like call me Papa, like such weird sexual connotations there or something. I don't know, but really.
So
really weird.
Moving forward in this pod, are we calling him Papa or Thomas Smith? I'm happy with either. I think he'd like Papa.
Let's call him Papa.
Okay.
Let's call him Papa. Yeah, let's call him Papa. Yeah.
So Papa, he was employed as a lead developer, and then John Caranoy, the CEO of SafeMoon, and then various others, which maybe will be
Caroni, I think, isn't it?
Caroni, is it? Caroni? Yeah. And then a few others, but I think you guys will probably discuss them later on. At this point, SafeMoon was evaluated to be worth between $3 and $4 billion, and this is just from 9 months of it all starting, the genesis. That's insane, right?
That's another red flag. My God, like who raises up to $4 billion in 9 months?
Crazy.
Like what?
Yeah.
That's an insane amount of money. Yeah. Crazy.
And then all the influencers obviously got on board and started promoting the coin. I remember David Portnoy, and I think he wasn't. Well, he did it accidentally, didn't he? He was picking like out of one of 10 shitcoins, as they're called, and he just happened to pick out SafeMoon out the hat. I don't know if you remember that video.
I do. Now that you've mentioned it, I do.
Yeah.
That's how he presented it publicly, though, because I do remember him speaking on it in another time.
Yeah, he was surrounded by 10 baseball hats, and each had the name of coin on the front of it, and he just randomly picked one up and put the SafeMoon hat on. And I think he spent $50,000 on the coins right there and then. That was when I first started realizing.
Yeah, I'm a big follower of. Me too. That's when the first ever time I heard about SafeMoon was through Portnoy, and I do remember that his whole narrative publicly of I picked it from a hat. Yeah. But I also remember him talking about how he had been in discussions with the SafeMoon guys,
right?
And he's also talked about that before, around the same time that the whole I picked it out of a hat thing. Yeah. So I don't know if the whole hat thing was a setup or whatever, just to make him look innocent. But he came out with that whole big video and stuff, and it went viral. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but he was one of the influencers. Was there any others of note?
Yeah, so Soldier Boy, Jake Paul, which is obviously huge. He's blown up the last 2 years, hasn't he? He's big in the crypto space. A guy called Juicy J.
Big time.
I've got no idea. Someone else called Diplo. He might be like a crypto pundit, or maybe you'll know him. Some content creator.
I don't know him.
No.
I don't know him. No.
It's funny, I've got Soldier Boy. I've written down, spell it as in soldier, as in an actual soldier that fights a war. You're supposed to spell it SOLJ. Show my age there.
Yeah. It's only a bit of a boomer thing to say there, Kyle.
Soldier Boy.
It's a bit of a creepy papa thing to say.
And there was massive billboards in cities, so it's quite a big deal at this point. I mean, if you see that billboard in the middle of New York, you just assume that this is legit, aren't you? I mean, who wouldn't?
Yeah, and I think this is like a really good point to emphasize, I think, because, you know, when we say like these guys got the 4 billion in 9 months, like, and we said that's a hell of a lot of money, like the audience are maybe listening going, yeah, okay, so what did they do that made it so get in that amount of money so quick? And it was massively because they had all these influencers like Jake Paul and Portnoy who aren't in the crypto. Yes, they had crypto influencers, but these guys, and the whole part of the big ethos around SafeMoon was for it to apply to non-crypto working normal people, you know, to just get in on this, we're safe to the moon. It's, you know, these kind of vibes that, you know, appeal to like people out there in the world who aren't like super into crypto, but like, you know, it's an easy lure, it's an easy trap. Yeah. So it lured a lot of people in. The SafeMoon, the influencers who like Portnoy and Jake Paul, their influence, their audience isn't in crypto, it's in the normal working guy, you know. Portnoy through Barstool, Jake Paul through boxing and YouTube and all that other shit. So that's a big part of it, but also because it's called SafeMoon, and also just to get into the technicalities at this stage a little bit, we've already mentioned it a bit, but it's because they, like Cal mentioned there a second ago, was if you buy SafeMoon, part of the transaction is taxed and it goes back into like a safe deposit box. They call it a liquidity pool in the crypto world, but it's basically like safe. It's in there, nobody can touch it, and the more money that goes into the safe deposit box, the value of the token goes up. So that was the same idea for B token, the same idea for SafeMoon. So that's why a lot of normal people out there were like, oh wow, then nothing can go wrong here. Isn't that right? That's basically the catch. That's how they that's how they got so much money so quick. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, there was grown men getting tattoos.
There's something else that I think.
Sorry, go ahead, Melanie. I'll start again.
Go ahead. No.
I think that's something that was really appealing about SafeMoon to the average person, was that it seems like it was a pretty niche-tight community. Like, they had like this community that would speak to each other. They were always in touch. There was like this whole thing of like, oh yeah, we're going to be rich, or we're like causing a revolution sort of thing. That I can see how that can be something very nice for an average guy who wants to get into crypto or is just bored with his life.
Yeah, for sure. Like they had what they call a SafeMoon army, isn't that it? Like with this, they even had a guy called the Fudhound. Do you remember him from the documentary? This just like military-looking guy with a thick neck, and he actually looked like a hound dog or something, you know. And his job was to like be a YouTube influencer and like smell out fear, uncertainty, and doubt of people out there against SafeMoon. He was the guy to like basically sniff out people who thought SafeMoon was a scam and basically shut them down by being like a hound at them, like, you know, rally the SafeMoon army against critics. So yeah, and this is the problem in a lot of places, but especially crypto, because it's so new. They get an army of people who all support each other and amplify their narrative, and it's easy to get caught up in that, right? That's like psychological dynamics we can all kind of understand, isn't it?
And it's weird because in a lot of MLMs, like, I don't know, Mary Kay, you know, the usual MLMs where women are involved or that they specifically target women, it works exactly the same, but without like these names. You have someone in a team that it's like, oh, I see that you're having doubts about this, and it's all very cultish and very scammy. I'm really surprised that, because I remember from before seeing the documentary, when SafeMoon was still going on and stuff, there was I can't remember people saying, "Oh, this is a scam." Most people treated it like just another shitcoin. I don't know if you remember something else.
No, I again, from when the whole thing was happening in real life, I didn't follow it in all that great depth. But from the documentary, you're right. There was only, I think, CoffeeZilla only referenced kind of one dude at the very beginning who was like, "Yeah, this is a scam. Like, fuck, this is a Ponzi scheme ready to fucking fall to pieces." But there wasn't a lot of people. And even, do you remember in the CoffeeZilla documentary, he does these little sides where he talks to the robot thing, and the robot's like, "CoffeeZilla, don't do this documentary. Nobody wants to hear it. Not even the SafeMoon guys. Nobody wants to lose money. And if you do this documentary, they're all going to lose because the token's going to tank." That's true. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's a really interesting insight.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to hear the truth. Not even the SafeMoon guys, even though they'll lose them.
I listened to an astronomy podcast as well. It's visual as well. It's on YouTube, and the guy also talks to like this little rabbit every now and then. So it must be like a way of doing it, just getting like your thoughts over without speaking directly to the camera. It's kind of interesting the way that this pod did the same thing.
For sure, it's a really engaging, different angle. And often they do that to get around legalities as well. They'll have the robot say something, rather than the person, so they can avoid getting sued or whatever.
Okay.
So let's the kind of like beginnings of this. Like, do you want to go into a little bit, Kyle? Like, you probably have it on your notes there. Like, just like the basics. We touched on it there a second ago, but the audience is probably wondering. Give us a little bit of how this whole like the code side of it like unfolded. Like, what's the scam here? Like, what was? Do you remember the whole auto locking or auto magically locked or something like this?
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to add from something that yourself and Melanie were chatting about. You got to remember, like at this time when this was all happening, a lot of people had like extra money because America got the stimulus checks, didn't they? And I think the UK, we got our furlough scheme. So I think a lot of people were just happy-go-lucky buying these coins. So that must be part of the success, is like really the timing of this whole SafeMoon thing.
Yeah, I agree, and for crypto bull run more especially in 2021 for sure. Yeah, and it's always in a bull run when people have more money that there's these scammers that are going to take advantage more.
Yeah,
for sure, absolutely, that's part of it.
Yeah,
probably would have still been a scam, but they got to 4 billion in 9 months.
Yeah.
Because it was 2021 in the pandemic. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got in my notes here that a grown man got a tattoo. He had like a SafeMoon tattoo on his forearm. He was invested. Yeah. Imagine trying to cover that one up.
I don't know if that's. Yeah. How do you? Oh my god. I mean, I don't know if it's. I'm a little bit cynical. I'm just wondering if these influencers, these people who are part of the army, do this to get
probably not
get higher up in the food chain within the army.
Yeah.
Is that tattoo fake and it's just all of who knows really? Yeah. But what was I gonna say? Like, I don't know. What do you guys like for people who get those tattoos here? The regular foot soldiers of the SafeMoon army. There will be a lot of people who just naively bought into it or innocently bought into it, aren't that educated on it. But then there will be the more cynical sort of guys, But a lot of people were caught. I don't know whether, like, seeing that tattoo guy, I didn't know whether to be cynical or sad, because a lot of folks will have went along with this thinking it was true.
Yeah, it would just have a cover up, I guess. But I mean, the tattoo was huge. So, like you say, it could be fake. But
it was huge.
It was big.
It was all on the whole on length of his arm or something.
Yeah, he went full power.
went full throat. That crypto hound, that FUD hound really got me, dude. Like, what the god. He's going to come into the story in a really interesting way later as well. But yeah, let's give folks a bit of a background on just the whole, just quickly on the auto lock and auto magically lock, because that's really the basis of the whole scam.
No problem. Okay, so yeah, I've also got written down here that there was a Squid Game token, which was an example of a rug pull that happened, and that was had a market cap of 2.1 trillion. And it went like that to zero overnight. So these things are obviously happening around this time, so people are going to be kind of skeptical, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, but what Safe Moon...
Oh, that was the bit where the green went up and the red went straight down.
Yeah. So Safe Moon had an auto-lock-in liquidity for 4 years. But there's a little bit of a grey area because they said it was automated and not automatic. And apparently there's a difference there. But it's already confusing, right?
Yeah, I tried to like work this out myself, like, and I guess like, there was a couple of things, wasn't there? Like automated versus automatic. Like automated for me just means a machine does it. Like at the end of the day, a human presses the button, but the machine's moving the money. That's what automated means. That just means technology's involved. Like, what the fuck? Everything nowadays has technology involved to some extent. Automatic on the other side means like there is no human involvement needed. Once the transaction is done, it's automatically in. Of course, it will also be automated because technology is involved in that, but it's automatic. Do you know what I mean? So there's no human involvement needed. And so they basically confused everyone deliberately around that, saying it was automatic when it wasn't automatic. It was automated, which is another red flag, basically. But there was also something in the code, actually, wasn't there, that said something about auto-magically or auto-locked. I couldn't really work this out as well. It was instead of auto-locked, it would be auto-magically moved or some shit. I don't know quite what. I think the point is, for listeners, like, they wrote one thing in the code that gave everyone an impression that the transactions would be going to this liquidity pool, and that was the main thing. As I said before, like, you think there's a transaction for every time someone buys SafeMoon, part of it, that transaction tax goes into the pool, with which over time more money in there, the token value goes up, but it's not going straight in there. This is the whole scam. In fact, it wasn't going straight in. It was all down to the people, Papa and all the rest of these guys, who decided when it would go into the liquidity pool and when it wouldn't. So it wasn't automatic at all. So even the code was false. So it's really at the base layer a total fucking scam, you know? Just crazy.
Yeah. Well, it turns out anyway, Kyle, the CEO, he had been rug pulling from the get-go. He'd removed liquidity 17 times.
Yeah.
A total of 164 trillion tokens were found in Kyle's wallet, and that grossed him a tidy $10.3 million. So he's doing all right at this point.
He's doing all right. Just 164 trillion tokens. Is that what you said?
Yeah, 164 trillion tokens.
Wow. And he did it in a really crafty way, didn't he? He took like small amounts out over a long period of time. But the point is, he was doing it, and he could do it for the reason I just said. He was able to just take money out whenever he wants, basically.
There was a Twitter account called War on Rugs, which was meant to expose scams and scammers and in the crypto sphere, not financial advice. And they eventually ended up rug pulling everyone as well. His own community. He just said, well, everyone else is doing it. And he left like a long little speech when he closed his account down. Yeah, he said, since we can't do anything and there isn't any regulation in place, I decided to do what I did. So you understand you should stop being a clown and aping in everything. Hopefully after this you don't trust anyone anymore. Pending proper regulations. Goodbye, everyone. That's pretty crazy, isn't it?
What do you guys think about that? It's a little bit of a side story to the main scam story here, but what did you guys think about that? What was your impressions of that?
Mega trust issues after that one.
Yeah, for sure. Makes you so cynical. Like, what do you think, Mel? Do you remember that bit? What did you think about that?
I don't know, because I have always been like pretty cynical about coins and stuff in general. Like, there are very few I trust, I guess. The rest, they just seem like clout. So, yeah.
But does this make you more cynical, not just of coins, but of human beings? This guy setting out, just so the audience is clear what we're talking about here, there was basically someone who was following this whole SafeMoon scam. Some people call him white hat, basically someone who like spots scams. And so this guy set up a Twitter account called War on Rugs, which rug pull rugs, basically scams in the crypto space. That's a word. And he would tweet about how SafeMoon was like, what was it, like a 99% possibility of being a scam, and he gave the reasons. So this guy had a massive following for people also who were following SafeMoon and thought it was a scam, so he had a massive amount of trust. And then, as Kyle said, he then set up his own coin built on the trust of the people who had been following his Twitter accounts. Was there a name for his coin? Did he call it War on Rugs coin? I can't remember.
I'm not too sure. I don't have anything here, but yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, I think he called it something like that. And then he got like $500,000 amount of money for his coin, this War on Rugs Trust Me coin, and then he rug pulled basically those people. He scammed his own people who trusted him. So I mean, this is a side note to the main story, but that's just crazy. That makes me even more cynical of human beings rather than crypto or crypto coins. But it's just ludicrous. I don't know what that guy's doing now. He made off with the money, but basically as Kyle said there, what was it? His reason was everyone else is doing this, so I'm going to do it too.
He just said,
was that it?
Yeah, well, everyone else is doing it. And that was it, in quotes.
Yeah.
Everyone else is doing it, yeah. And he justified himself by, like, I brought this scam to everyone's attention, so that was my good to the world, so I'm due something back. Or I'm not an angel, I did some good. You can't expect me to be an angel or something like this.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, that guy's a side note. Yeah. What's the next part of the story then?
Well, some people started rallying against anti-scammers, you know. You mentioned it earlier, FUD stands for fear, uncertainty, and doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy was basically, anyone that was calling anything out as a scam, he would just try and gaslight into everyone thinking that guy was the crazy guy. And at this point, you know, when War on Rugs has done a rug pull themselves, it's kind of, yeah, who do you trust? There's a perfect timing, really, to do something like this. And SafeMoon had a contract audit where it was discovered that there was major vulnerabilities in the SafeMoon code, and mishandling it could have devastating consequences to the project as a whole. So I think it all started kind of slipping away at this point. But again, Papa gave his word, you know. Everything's okay, everything's fine.
I think this is an interesting... Yeah, this is another crucial point to bring out, another interesting point for the audience, because SafeMoon they contracted a company to do an audit for them, so this wasn't like an outside audit that, I don't know, like the people skeptical of SafeMoon ordered. This was SafeMoon ordered their own audit, and that audit came back saying your protocol's so crap that if anyone disabuses it, it's going to have devastating consequences, i.e. it's so vulnerable to like human corruption that, oh my god, like, you're done. So yeah, just like, they basically like shot themselves in the foot in that regard, but it didn't really change anything, did it? They kept going on.
Yeah, so at this point, Papa, he took over ownership of SafeMoon, so he took the reins. He was loved by the community, apparently.
Ownership or management?
Yeah, he made up that he turned down a position with XRP. They're going to give him £2 million to work with them, but XRP later said that they had no idea who he is. So it sounds like smoke and mirrors from Papa, but I mean, what else would you expect at this point? The guy's a wizard, right?
Yeah, this absolutely weird, creepy dude who's like, well, one of his followers tweeted like, "Oh, Papa's such a legend.
Yeah.
He could get a job, or he once got a job with XRP." Yeah. And then Papa tweeted back like, "True story" or something like this. And XRP were like, "Who the fuck are you?"
Yeah, Papa was stealing money anyway.
Yeah. Oh, good.
He justified it as moving funds.
Yeah.
and he was moving from V1 to V2 in liquidity pools. But yeah, I mean, it gets really technical here. I don't know if you want to go into it or if you want to just kind of jump over that bit a little bit or summarize it, Alex. Probably.
Well, I'll briefly summarize it. Yeah. So like he was basically, the summary is that, yeah, Kyle, who was the founder we've talked about already, who stole 110 million over time in small amounts. He was just taking out small, insignificant amounts, but it added up over time. So he was like, yeah, not particularly sophisticated, but it was so low level that that's how he got away with the theft. Papa was a little bit more sophisticated. We don't need to get into the technicalities too much, but basically in crypto, the way this thing worked was called, as we've mentioned before, a liquidity pool. And basically the pool is, there's two tokens, supply and demand, when they're set against each other. So when one token, when there's a quantity of one token goes up, the other one is not the same amount of quantity, the prices are like different compared to each other. So what Papa was doing was he was manipulating that, and he created a new liquidity pool, and he did some dodgy stuff basically, where he was supposed to move in this transition process to this new liquidity pool. He was supposed to just move the tokens from the two coins, SafeMoon, and I can't remember what the other token was, but he was supposed to move SafeMoon and this other token across to the other liquidity pool. So just move it across, maybe an upgrade of liquidity pool, but the basic thing is the same. Supply and demand, how are they in relation to each other, means the price of each other. But he moved only one across, and he didn't move SafeMoon. And so he kept all the SafeMoon personally for himself, and he just put in a large buy order for SafeMoon on the new liquidity pool, so nothing would look suspicious. So no, it didn't raise anybody's attention. It's just the technicalities in the back. You can make this maneuver, but basically the point was, when he made this whole operation just to keep SafeMoon back for himself, and then he would use that SafeMoon that he kept back, loads of it, absolutely 100 million of it, and he would sell it later on into the market. He would, I'm selling SafeMoon now, I'm selling SafeMoon at higher and higher prices. So that's as simple as it gets. Folks can listen, if they want to know more about how the technicalities work, watch the documentary. But basically, he was a bit more sophisticated in that he would keep SafeMoon back, basically, to sell later. So that's what he was up to. He's a crafty bastard.
Mean, if my memory does not fail me, what he basically did, without getting into the whole technical part because I'm awful, but he would basically, he had to move the money, right? He would put like these dumb GIFs in Discord of boom every single time he moved it, right? And he would move the money, keep a bit of it, make it go up, and then sell what he kept for his own personal gain, profit.
That's exactly it. Where he wasn't entitled to keep anything back. It should have just been a simple process of moving all the assets, all the liquidity over to this new pool, which is just a place where assets, liquidity is traded, new market. But he kept everything back. And you're right. He would, every time he would do this, he would tweet out, "Boom, done! I'm looking after you guys. It's done. The big transition's been made." And everyone would be, "Yay, Papa!" And it'd be like a distraction thing. And whereas he was just stealing the SafeMoon, and he'd do this.
Yeah, and it was pretty awful because a couple of times he was like, "Oh, you will like what I did with I don't know." The guy was dodgy. Like, I mean, all the guys in this thing were dodgy because in the documentary, right after Coffeezilla mentions this, he mentions that the CEO, John, do you guys remember his last name? Karani. At this point, the team is starting to experience some differences because a part of the team says, "Hey, we should freeze some of the coin," and Karani is like, "No, why? We should move it." I mean, it was like the start of a rug pull, I think.
Yep.
So that's the first time the team starts to have some differences, and afterwards there is another major difference between the team. So Karuni is like a guy from military background. His parents are from the I don't remember
CIA.
if it was FBI, CIA. He worked for the military, but he wants to sort of like rebrand himself as a tech visionary, like a, I don't know, like an Elon Musk or a Steve Jobs sort of guy. And he has this thing going on called Project Phoenix, with Phoenix misspelled because he wrote it wrong one time and he refused to, be like, oh fuck, I fucked the spelling up, I will fix it. No. It was like if it was something on purpose, like something really weird.
That was another massive red flag. I found that so funny that it was supposed to be Phoenix, Phoenix, and he just misspelt it, and it's Phoenix is what it is or something, but he wouldn't change it. That's so ridiculous.
And something else that got my attention about that whole thing, like you remember that there was like an animated logo of like the whole Project Phoenix thing that they show, that Coffeezilla shows?
I can't remember that. I can't remember the logo. No, I don't think so.
It looks a lot. Maybe it was a fan-made animation. I really hope it was like a fan-made animation because it looks a lot like the Harry Potter Patronus sort of animation. So I am really hoping that it was not like something official, because otherwise they copied like the Patronus animation of Harry Potter, at least the way I see it.
Well, that's another thing. Like they've basically taken the. Oh, I can hear myself, and if anyone's got echo off, I can hear myself. I don't know, but anyway, just double check that, guys. Yeah, it's all good my end. Yeah. Basically, the two. All good on your end.
Yeah, all good, mate. Yeah.
All good in mine too.
Okay.
Hey everyone, it's Alex. Just taking a second away from the chat to say thank you again for joining us on this journey. If you like what we're doing, please consider supporting us on our Patreon. We've put the link in the description. Times are very tough out there, so you can also help us in other ways, such as sharing or liking our content on social media, rating our podcast on iTunes, or just spreading the word about our project to your friends and networks. We've put all of these links in the description. Help us build the people system with blockchain. Now, let's get back to the chat.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. So basically, they hadn't really the main. There's so many main threads coming through that these guys are just sloppy guys trying to get money. They'd taken the B token code and hadn't really innovated on it. They just upped the tax, and then Crony comes along and. The liquidity pool didn't really offer anything new. It was just a way for Papa to take money. And then you have Karoni with this Project Phoenix. As Mel just said, he takes the logo, which seems to be a rip-off probably of Harry Potter, possibly. Wouldn't surprise me.
But hang on, the rip-off does not end there. Because the guy was like... No one was able to explain what the hell was Project Phoenix, right? At some point he was like, oh no, it's a mix of a lot of complicated things that in one they create something amazing. Then he goes like, no, this will help to bankerize Africa. And then it ends up in wind energy.
Yeah,
like
wind farms in Gambia.
Exactly. It makes so many jumps that it's like, how on earth did we end up with wind farms in Gambia? But anyway, the wind farm design, like the wind thingies, they are a copy. They are not his design. They are like the design of another company. And the only thing he did was like he put like little dots in the machines, and he was like bullshitting everyone that it was like nano devices, something like that.
Is that
It was.
my understanding was that the holes weren't even his idea. They were just a straight up rip off from the wind turbine as well. I didn't even know that that was his idea. I don't think it was. I think that was the holes were the innovation actually from the other company, and he just completely stole it.
I can't remember that well, but I think that there was like the whole difference thing was that he was like, oh no, yeah, this has nanotechnology and blah 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 blah. And I mean, at some point it was like, because the guy kept jumping, right? He kept inventing stuff for to keep this up. He was like, he made like this motto thing that it was every turn a burn, that it was like in every single turn of every of these wind things, they would burn tokens. It was something like that. Do you guys remember exactly?
Something ridiculous. Like they would
Something very yeah, something very weird. And meanwhile, the rest of the team who hates this guy with a passion, they create another token, piggyback, right?
Piggy bank, yeah.
Piggy bank, yeah. So at this point, the whole team is like Kuroni versus the rest of the team. And the rest of the team, they are like speaking of being paid to leave. And some of them had they had little things that, for example, one was speaking like, oh yeah, well, I can leave and I can make them pay because the Twitter of the coin is mine, because I am the one that has the power over it. So everyone had like different ways to get out of the thing with some money. It was something really, really shady. And John, it comes a moment where it's
just to set a bit more context here, because it's important to stress like how, because the audience are maybe wondering like, all what you've told us so far is basically that the team are scammers. So you're saying Kuroni was a scammer, but Kuroni and the team fell out. Why were they just scammers in different ways, and they had a different agenda to scam people that conflicted? Basically, Papa and Kyle, who were like the elites within Safe Moon, were scammers. The other guys in the core team who weren't Papa and Kyle didn't like Kuroni because they didn't like his personality. He didn't lock up liquidity when they wanted it. He wasn't doing what the protocol and the actual nice people in the team, or whatever, the nicer people in the team, wanted for Safe Moon. Like, lock up the liquidity. Kuroni didn't want to do that. They didn't like because he was stealing the money. They didn't like his personality. They hated he was authoritarian, and he wanted, as Mel said, he wanted to take this Project Phoenix. He wanted to go away from the central mission of Safe Moon as just locking up transactions and the token growing. He'd had this whole vision for Windfarms. So the other people in the team, the non-fraudy people who had been stealing, the developers and other people were like, "What are you doing, Kuroni? Like, this isn't the vision. Like, go away, dude." Like, so there's this big falling out from Kuroni, but also the team who weren't necessarily the frauders. But Papa was involved in it, and we're going to hear what happened to him in a minute. But it's important to remember there was other people in the team who weren't just Papa, that weren't necessarily frauding, but were just the core developers, and they were the ones that fell out with Kuroni. So as Mel was just getting onto there, these are the people who were ready to leave, wanted to be paid off because they didn't like Kuroni, didn't like the vision of Safe Moon anymore, but they weren't frauders. But what was their leverage then, Mel, over Kuroni? What they were saying, give me my money or I'm going to leave. It's because they kind of knew Kuroni was a bit of a fraud, and there was all sorts of dodginess, wasn't it? Something like that. And they were like, I have the Twitter account details. I'll tell the world that SafeMoon was a fraud if you don't pay me off. Wasn't it something like that?
I think it was more on terms like I can do whatever I want. I can even just shut down, the coin's Twitter. It wasn't so much about exposing information at that point, at least as far as I understood. It was just more of like, look, I have assets within the company and I can do whatever I want with them. Something more along those terms. I mean, it starts to get heavier when at some point Corona it's like, okay, you know what? We are going to release B2 of the token, right? That it had like some differences, including different uses of the fee that they detail and stuff. However, the thing gets really bad when they put a 100% tax on the B1 to make it unusable. And I think I meant that word, but you get me. And what happens is that when people try to move money from B1, their tokens from B1 to B2 with the 100% tax, they lose all that money. And at some point, someone from the community team is like, hey guys, it's all good, we will return you the money, we will sort this out. He gets kicked out. He gets kicked out for saying that.
Yeah, that was the FUD hound who we were talking about earlier. So this is like the guy who was the central guy who was working alongside Coroni in promoting SafeMoon, taking down the critics. Even he at this stage smelled something so fishy. There's 100% tax that he had to feel that he couldn't support it anymore, and so he went public with criticism of that, and Coroni kicked him out. But let's because this is an important point. Like up until this stage, Coroni was like the visionary for taking SafeMoon into a different way. People were falling out. Papa and the core team were leaving because they didn't support it. They wanted to be paid off.
I think that this is the moment where, okay, so the team was already doing like shit. People from the team were beginning to notice that this was a scam. Disagreements were happening, but when they moved from B1 to B2, is a moment where when the public starts to realize that there's something bad going on, and it's the moment where the FBI is like, what is going on?
You're right. This is the crucial moment.
At this point, people from the team, like the scammy ones, and possibly even, I am pretty sure then, even the non-scammy ones, started to delete stuff to try to cover their bots. Because honestly, you don't want to go down with such a shit fest. But they start to delete information and delete documents and stuff, because this is the point where the FBI and the general public start to have a bad feeling about what's going on.
And let's just, Mel, like stick on the 100% tax, because I feel like our audience, this is the big turning point where you say it went public, the FBI started to get involved, because this is, I don't know what you thought about this, Kyle, as well. Like, this was just so ludicrous. I don't know what they were thinking that they could do this and that wouldn't set off the alarm bells to the FBI and the public at large. Basically, what they were trying to do was like, you have to migrate to a new version of SafeMoon, a whole new version of the protocol or something like that, which, I don't know, offered different ways to move your money and use SafeMoon and all this trash. Basically, whatever, like, big deal. But they said that anyone who was operating still with the old version of SafeMoon coin, if you made a transaction, if you tried to buy it, to sell it, if you tried to do anything with this version 1 of SafeMoon, there would be a penalty of basically 100% tax. It would just wipe you out, and that was the disincentive. It was the incentive for everyone to pay attention and move to SafeMoon 2. And the punishment was, if you weren't paying attention, you'd lose all your money. But it's just so obviously ridiculous that was just a way, another scam. And the audience listening are wondering, oh yeah, but who benefits when there's 100% tax? Like, where does the 100% tax go? The 100% tax would go to the liquidity pool, which Caroni still controlled. Caroni was still in control of that. So he was benefiting from it. So all these people, all these regular folk out there who maybe weren't following SafeMoon or John Caroni's master plan and the new product development of SafeMoon, even Portnoy, I think, Kyle, if you remember this, Portnoy wasn't up to date on it. So, but it was all going to Caroni, it's just such a scam, filthy.
Yeah, I remember seeing a video.
You can continue. I just thought that was good.
Yeah, Dave Portnoy just saying it's all gone, right? It's like all of a sudden it just went. I think that was in the documentary.
Yeah, I don't know if it was that stage that he lost. Did he lose it all? That he lost his personal investment that time, or was he just like,
where has it gone? Yeah.
Right. Because I remember at a later stage he was speaking on CNBC or Fox, and he was like, "I still hold the shittiest of coins ever, SafeMoon."
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was after. I can't remember, but at least he was saying in that video, he was like, SafeMoon, what are you doing here? Like, this is like, you can't be at this complicated shit. Like, what the hell? Like, a lot of people are getting screwed over here with your nonsense.
And I mean, it's very much like, how you say it in English? The small print, the fine print.
Yeah, small print. Yeah.
It feels very much like small print because, say, you operate with a coin, right?
Yeah.
If you are not a very technical person or whatever, you just follow if it goes up, if it goes down, maybe some, community news. You don't follow like big details. So this was like a super small print type of thing to fuck people up. It's the only way I can explain it.
Do you have the figure, the statistic of how much people lost? I have it here in front of me, but do you have it there as well? You can just let everyone know how much normal people actually lost of this Caroni 100% tax scam.
No, I don't have it here.
It's $102 million. So that's how much she straight up took out of people's pockets because there's 100% tax that we later know went to him, right? Because it was all bloody ending up in his pocket. But anyway, I thought it was important to emphasize that 100% tax because that was, as you said, the turning point, and it was such a crazy thing.
It's like a very scammy movement because imagine that you are like imagine that you just you're only investing in SafeMoon, right?
Yeah.
You don't care about details, you don't care about anything. Someone told you, hey, look, put your money in this coin. It seems promising, you will make money out of it, right? You don't follow technicalities, you're not a crypto person, you just invested money, right? Imagine one day trying to make a transaction and then the money disappearing.
Just gone, yeah.
And I mean, the way I see it, because think about it, it's like when your computer breaks and you start to troubleshoot it, whatever. Imagine these people that they were like, oh fuck, all my money's done, what I did wrong, what happened, whatever. Trying to do some research and then figuring out, oh no, there's a 100% tax on transactions.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
If anything, you'd think, and that is like, you're right to point that out, because that will be like a lot of the activity of normal people who just bought SafeMoon because they were promised and whatever at the start, didn't look at their wallets for a while, and then maybe at one stage came along and made a little transaction to do this or that, maybe a small amount, and then woof, gone. And you're thinking, how can that even be possible? Wouldn't the important thing, or another way to do this is like when that person comes along to make that transaction, something pops up on the app that says, you do know that if you make this transaction, it's 100% tax and everything's lost, or like a red message, something that pops up as a warning.
Yeah, something to warn people, because like the reality is that a lot of people in crypto, they are not following the technical side of things. It's like what they did without placing a warning or anything. It's pretty
obvious.
It's pretty awful.
It's pretty obvious, though.
Pretty awful.
But it's pretty obvious then that why didn't they do that is because they wanted people to make the mistake so that the 100% would go to the liquidity pool, you know?
If I saw 100% tax,
I mean, at this point, it just became really obvious.
I would just DM Papa and just say, Papa, what's going on with this? Is this okay? Is this legit?
Yeah. Papa at this stage is in the Bahamas taking selfies with his Lamborghini.
He's just drinking cocktails looking at a sunset.
Yeah, exactly. Just saying to like girls that are walking by, hey baby, call me Papa, Papa.
Hey, Papa.
I'll take you to the moon. It'll be a safe trip.
Papa, you obviously didn't get my last message. I'm just wondering about this 100% tax, bro.
Yeah. And he replies, new phone, who dis?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey bro, what's up with this 100% tax? My wallet has been wiped. What's up with this, man?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, like, hey, pops. Just tried to feed the kids there by taking out the last $100 I have. Just noticed, like, you guys took everything. Like, BRB with what's going on. Thanks, pops.
Yeah, Jesus
like,
Christ.
what the fuck? Like,
God.
it's just so obvious. We're laughing, but it's just because we shouldn't like be laughing because a lot of people like lost money. But it's
very sad.
Yeah.
It's very sad, and I mean, this is like the major turning point.
Yeah.
When people start realizing that there's something very wrong, very off here, and when the FBI starts to be like, "Hey, what is this? What's going on?" It was bad. Like this is like the moment of Safecoin where everything changes.
Yeah.
When shit starts to go down, basically.
Yeah, and it's a wonder. I don't think CoffeeZilla goes into it. I don't really know why Caroni chose to maybe do this move, because it's just so obvious that it would trigger the FBI and everyone else. I wonder, he maybe just wanted to raise even more money for his stupid Project Phoenix. I don't know. I don't think CoffeeZilla goes into necessarily the motivations for this big move, but it happened. I think everyone was leaving Caroni and he had full control. He just wanted to do what the fuck he wanted. Maybe got power hungry. Who knows?
I think it was just greed. At this point, it was just greed and taking. I mean, it's very obvious that most of people who were into SafeMoon were average guys. That there are two things that I observed the whole time about this whole SafeMoon project. One, the sense of community. The sense of community was like a really, really, really major thing. And two, this whole thing of like selling through the community, this whole feeling of hope, like, hey, we're going to the moon, and I mean, it's what happens in almost every single shitcoin these days. Yeah. But this one felt like really American centered, and this was during the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, everyone was an easy target because it was like it was literally the worst of times. So I think that he basically took advantage of the average Joe, to put it in a way.
He did.
And Kyle, who was watching from the shadows. And I mean, I will even give Kyle some benefit of doubt, because I mean, obviously he made like the give me your money token, but I think that the way Kyle was seeing this whole thing was more of a petty thief sort of thing, not like a billionaire scam.
Possibly, yeah.
I think that I am pretty sure that the guy lacked the perspective. Even if at the end he made a lot of money out of it, I don't think that he ever expected to make so much money out of it. And I don't think that he was like, oh yeah, I'm going to make this like a billionaire scam.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, Kyle. What do you think? Like this?
Well, I think that Caroni, was more like, I will make like, I will I will take every single penny from these guys. I will take everything I can, and that's how the 100% tax was born.
That's a really interesting point.
In my humble opinion,
that's a really I hadn't. That's a really good. I agree with that. I think there was. Kyle, I'll be interested to get your thoughts on this, like as well, because I think Mel's right. Like Kyle, the founder, seemed to be this guy that set it up, didn't expect it to take off. Yeah, was stealing small parts over time that added up to a lot, and then he got out of it when maybe it got out of completely control and Caroni was taken over and all the rest of it. Whereas Caroni's this guy with a military background, CIA parents. He's doing these. He's walking around conferences, isn't it? Doing the presentations to the world on what SafeMoon could be if it was Gambian Windfarms and all the rest of it. This big visionary of bringing in billions and billions, and then Mel's right. He does this 100% tax, and that's just a way to take money whing straight to him. And he just seems like the grander, sort of bigger scammer, whereas Cal maybe was the little dude who, stole. But petty thief, smaller dude, got out when it seemed to get out of too big and out of his hands. Would you agree with that? What do you think, Kyle? Like, what is your take on those two creators, those two characters?
Yeah, definitely. Well, John Caroni, his parents being in the CIA. I mean, that's a red flag for sure. And I don't know if it was ever like a little,
for sure,
because he would have been approached by the CIA 100%. Like if his parents were already evolved in the establishment, they go, okay, this guy's cooled up with crypto and stuff. They obviously want a bad press for crypto, don't they? Because they want the centralized digital currency coming in. So anything that's bad publicity for kind of decentralized crypto is good for their objective, is what I'd assume anyway. What do you think?
Well, yeah, that's a really good point. Like, and we can get into that because, like, I mean, you maybe like that, like, I suppose. I mean, my thoughts on it, honestly, and maybe some people listening will go, "That feels a bit conspiratorial," but like, I would say not, because we do know that these intelligence agencies use all sorts of scams, money laundering schemes, to straight up take money from the public because they're not getting enough government money or black budgets or whatever else. So they do use these kind of things. The money, I mean, FTX has just been, which is we're going to be talking about in the next episode, it's been uncovered that Sam Bankman-Fried, the CEO, was literally taking customer deposits, funneling it through the war effort in Ukraine, and that was going back, some of it or all of it, I don't know, some of it I think was going back to the Democratic Party in the US. So it's not just Sam Bankman-Fried, the curly-haired nerd, that does all this on his own. Intelligence agencies, elites of all sorts, are pulling the strings and making the movements and all the rest of it, right?
Yeah.
So bringing it back to Caroni, like his parents are in the CIA, he's got a military background. What's not to say that maybe there's something more nefarious going on, that maybe they sort of like worked with him behind the scenes to do this whole Project Phoenix, blast that out to the world, and we're money laundering, or we're taking this money behind this. I mean, are we to believe that John Caroni was just taking this money to go and spend it on nice holidays for himself? Or was something more nefarious? Hundreds of millions of dollars going on here.
Yeah.
You don't think intelligence agencies would see that and go, here, we're taking that. Maybe his mum and dad, maybe the CIA through his mum and dad, who the fuck knows.
Yeah.
But as I'll take over from here, because this is my section, but CoffeeZilla wasn't able to get to the bottom of where all the money was going. He found some of it that went to Caroni's account, but CoffeeZilla said himself, tracking down Caroni's wallets was the hardest thing he'd ever done, and he has a team of sleuths to find everybody else's wallet.
Yeah.
They found Kyle's wallet, they found Papa's wallet. They were never able to get all of Caroni's money. They only found some of it. So that makes you think as well, right? This guy just is he so much more sophisticated than Papa, the developer guy, or Kyle? Like, you kind of wonder, like, why was nobody over the course of a year of CoffeeZilla's investigation able to find where all the money went and Caroni's wallets? Makes you think. I don't know the answers, but makes you think. Is there some other nefarious CIA dodginess going on there? I don't know.
Yeah, the original creator, Kyle, obviously had a distrust of the government, and he ended up taking the backseat, didn't he? for John Caroni, who came in, and then all of a sudden, parents are CIA.
Right.
So I don't know if they ended up getting compromised, basically. And he was like, you know what, I'm done. I'm getting out at this point. John Caroni took over, and maybe because of his parents' ties, that he had a hall pass, you know, to kind of just go ahead with this.
Well, whether Caroni's like first getting into Safe Moon or his journey through to the top of Safe Moon and taking over and getting all the rivals and the old team out, and then the whole thing might have been constructed from start to finish by the CIA, who knows, or just the CIA parents, who knows, or it might have been somewhat innocent at the start, and then Safe Moon obviously in 9 months raised billions, and then they were like, and then CIA maybe were like, wait a minute, maybe they're like, oh wow, we know the name Caroni, his parents are with us. Then they got to the parents, got to Caroni, that's it. Who the fuck knows how it happened, but it is, all we know is that he took over, everybody else was ousted, he was stealing money, and hundreds of millions can't be traced, even by CoffeeZilla and his sleuths. At this stage, you know, you're just, I don't know. I mean, but it's almost beside the point where the money ended up in his hands of the CIA or someone else, the military. All we're saying here is this is how it's unfolded. People, the normal folk, were frauded, and this is how it played out. And yeah, I mean, what else have I got? My notes here from how this all ended. Yeah, okay. The FBI obviously were, as Mel said, investigated at this stage. It all went titties. There was even a class action lawsuit versus Safe Moon and all the influencers at this stage. This is where Jake Paul and all of those guys were brought into a class action lawsuit for pumping and dumping the coin. Caroni had interviews with media at this stage. Remember that, where like some tough questions were put to him. It all started to collapse publicly as well, and he was just like looked really awkward in the interviews, giving stupid, shitty answers. So at this stage, it went rapidly downhill. You know, then I guess like the end of this is kind of tracking down whether Caroni, what was Caroni doing with all of this money, and basically his whole thesis was that he was getting money from Bitmart, the exchange where SafeMoon was listed. No exchange pays you to list your coin. If anything, you pay the exchange to list your coin because it's so competitive. So that was another red flag. And he said he had 90 employees that he was paying. Like, where was he getting the money for that? You know, so. Basically, what was going on for the listeners out there who are wondering, how does this all finish? Where does all the money come from? And who's it all going to? Basically, SafeCoin was listed on this exchange, Bitmart. Bitmart were charging a tax on every transaction. And instead of it going straight to the liquidity pool and locking up, we now know that wasn't the case. It was going straight to Caroni, the developers and the CEOs, for them to put into the liquidity pool. Caroni wasn't. Caroni at the end was just getting that money into his own personal wallet that even CoffeeZilla, the investigator on YouTube, couldn't trace. He found some money was going to Caroni's wallet, and some money was being paid to Kyle to shut up, basically. You know, shut up in that whole payoff. But that's all the money that he could trace to Caroni. But we know it was going to Caroni because we know it was going at least from Bitmart to Caroni to SafeMoon, and Caroni was in charge of SafeMoon. So that's how it all ended, guys. Like we don't know where the money was going to. Caroni was like a ghost, is what CoffeeZilla said. Even former employees he tried to get help from, and he still couldn't trace the money. So that's really it. What else is there? Yeah, he reached out to Caroni. Caroni never replied. That's another red flag. If everything was innocent, why would you not just tell the story? Yeah, and the whole story is like everyone, like Caroni was getting a cut. Kyle got a cut through theft. Papa got his cut. The influencers got their cut. But the losers in this were just the normal folk who'd put their money into this, and they just got straight up frauded. They thought their money through this tax was going into the liquidity pool. It was safe, it was locked, but in fact it was just going to these human beings, these corrupt human beings, one way or another, who were just spending it and stealing it. So yeah, it's an interesting story. Like I guess it's quite like interesting because like CIA, Gambian Windfarms, names of like Papa, selfies, like the Safe Moon Army, and 9 billion and or 4 billion in 9 months. Like it all such a big rise and such a big fall. But it's important to note that these kind of scams do happen all the time. Safe Moon was just one of the more public ones because it had so many influencers involved. But if you're thinking of getting into crypto, anyone who's listening, there is a lot of stuff like this. Be careful. Be careful. If you see influencers, I would say just stay away from it because it just suggests something not serious and something nefarious is going on. Not all the time, but stay away from it. I would say.
The minute I saw Dave Portnoy, back in Safe Moon, I was like, he's the pizza review guy, Like I see him everywhere. He's the CEO of Barstool Sports, totally successful, worth $25 million. I like his personality. I would hook, line, and sinker there and then. I was thinking, why don't I have Safe Moon? I'm an idiot. You know what I mean? I bought Shiba INU instead. Yeah. But it could happen to anyone. For sure. I mean, once those guys are involved...
It could happen to anyone.
Yeah, once those guys are involved, you think, okay, this is legit,
Absolutely. What do you think, Mel? What do you think are the lessons from all of this? What's your takeaways?
I think that all this should be a cautionary tale for shitcoins in general. And I mean, I sort of just like the term shitcoin because you never know what will be the next Bitcoin or Ethereum. I am not very fond of Ethereum, to be fair, but you get what I mean. But I think the whole thing should set like standards for all the community interested in cryptocurrencies and stuff. It just said like, hey, look, this, and that are red flags, and you simply can't ignore them. Not only for the average person, but also for influencers that are paid to promote the coins. I mean, at this point, and we had here in Argentina, we had a case very similar to SafeMoon with a coin called Zoe coin. And the thing was very much advertised by influencers and stuff. I think that we are reaching a point where we are beginning to see what are the red flags for shitcoins that are scams, and a point where influencers by now should know which ones are a scam, which ones they shouldn't promote, which ones they should be careful about. I think the whole thing sets a precedent that can't be ignored. It simply can't be ignored anymore.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the only thing I would say is like if you're gonna do the red flags and the practices and these signs, red flags and signs that what's a scam and not, I would just prefer for the crypto community, and that involves the good people and the bad people battling out against each other. And the good people, hopefully, and it does happen, brings this to light, brings the red flags. There is part of the crypto community out there that hates this and will do the job of bringing the red flags against these kind of creepy guys. I just don't like the idea of government because I don't trust government. I don't trust regulators to do this properly because they're in the hands of elites. And elites will do it wrong. They'll favor one over the other. Like they just never get it right. I just don't trust government, and they'll probably crush crypto if it works for the elites. So I would just prefer it to be decentralized. It needs like more of an effort to call out these scams, call out this like SafeMoon, what we're seeing now with FTX. We'll get into that in the next episode. But I think the crypto community will react and is reacting to scams like this, and just being like, we need to do a better job of regulating this ourselves and like bringing to the fore the shitty ones and why they're shitty and protecting people, because if not, the government are going to step in, and that's not a good thing. So that would be my only point. But I think it is going that way. I think the community are stepping up. because nobody likes to see this kind of thing. It just ruins crypto for everyone else. Do you know what I mean? And the other lesson I take from this is like, which I would hope, at least from my end, is like a running theme through these crime episodes that we want to do. Like, a lot of people who are like our audience here who are listening, like, again, maybe think, oh, crypto's all a scam. It's not all a scam. There's so many scams. Human beings are corrupt, but there's a lot of good that's being done in blockchain. And I personally would put this down to greed, and greed is baked into the capitalist system that we have, and it's just out of control. So I think our current system just influences elements of this kind of behavior to over and over again manifest itself. I'd hope for like a post-capitalist system where this greed and this profit motive over everything else just can't win so much all the time, that there's some other system that's built where greed doesn't rule. But as long as it rules in the system, it will manifest in these cases where it just sucks the blood out of everything, right? You can't have greed overall in the system and somewhat seen as a good thing in some parts. You can't promote greed to be the prime priority thing in the system, which the system does do, and then not expect outright scams to happen like this. So that's what I would say is another lesson to be learned here. I don't know what you guys think about that. Maybe getting a bit theoretical there, but I think it's important. Otherwise, people will get so against crypto, and that's not the vision that we have. We want to promote the good elements of it, good things going on, but also call out the shitty things and why we think the shitty things are happening.
I think,
any last thoughts? Let's wrap it up there, guys. But unless you have any last thoughts, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. It's just like Rishi Sunak, our new Prime Minister in the UK. He's really now very vocal about the new digital currency that's coming in by the centralised banking system. So I think any bad press to do with any kind of crypto shitcoin is good press. And that's why I don't trust John Caroni with the CIA parents. I see he might have been compromised there a little bit. That's probably my thought of it all, but maybe, it's my distrust of the powers that be. But I don't know. It's been on the news every day.
Dude,
Rishi Sunak, he's talking about it. It's happening, really. The government are going to bring out their own coins, so they want to take everyone away from these decentralized powers, which give us more freedom, etc. And they really want to advertise their safe, in quotations, digital currency. But we all know what comes along with that. We're going to lose a lot of liberty and freedom. I don't think it's a good thing, personally.
Yeah, I think we will do as part of this dystopian thread of side of the podcast, to warn people of the dystopian end of crypto.
Yeah.
We'll cover CBDCs. But I think just in reply to what you said, even CoffeeZilla mentioned the CIA part. He didn't go into it a lot, but he kind of, you read between the lines, he mentions that Caroni is himself is military, his parents are CIA. What he's saying there is hint, there's something more nefarious going on there.
100%.
I mean, there's nobody that would watch that documentary, see that bit, and not draw at least some inferences that could be possible, that there was something more nefarious there. I just think everyone would possibly draw. So I think that's fine. But yeah, you're right. I think what you said there about CBDCs, it's important that people recognize that. I mean, the elites, they don't like decentralized currencies. So if they're able to crush crypto overall, including decentralized currencies, and they use these scams as a thing to say, oh look, the whole thing's a scam, we need to crush everything, then that just gives more power to them to bring in CBDCs. So it's really important that we draw the distinction between scams and shitcoins and all the rest of it versus, and not throw the baby out with the bathwater, because we all know who that benefits. That benefits government, that benefits the elites, and that benefits CBDCs. That's the running thread here that we need to make sure everyone who's listening gets. We're not doing these scam episodes just to say, oh, this is fun, this is a crime app. No, we're trying to say it's important to call these out, because we need to be responsible as well, the people who like decentralized currencies and anti-government, to say we can't allow this, because it will eventually ruin the freedom efforts, because the government will use it against us. So it's really important to bring these scams out and make the distinction.
I think I'd rather buy SafeMoon over the centralized banking system's cryptocurrency, to be honest. I'll trust Papa over Sunak.
Trust Papa more. you trust Papa to look after your money more than your freedom. At the very least, you could have got it. Yeah, yeah. Well, maybe better to be screwed by Papa than screwed by the government. Yeah, I think a lot of people would probably agree. Yeah. Well, let's leave it there, guys. That was really enjoyable. Thanks for listening, everyone. We hope you enjoyed that. I think the next episode we're going to dive into FTX and that whole scandal. And lo and behold, we've already mentioned it already, all sorts of dark, nefarious government intelligence agencies. The whole thing's just blowing up as we speak. So by the time we get to do it in 2 weeks, there'll be more information. But holy shit, that's shady as crap. Wow. So lots of juicy stuff in there, as well as a curly-haired nerd at the center of it all. A bit like Caroni, maybe he's the puppet, who knows. But yeah, that's going to be the next episode. Guys, thanks for joining. I hope you enjoyed that. Did you have fun?
Yeah, all good, man.
Yeah, it was
enjoyed
fun.
that.
It was fun.
Cool, awesome. So yeah, thanks for joining. I hope you enjoy your rest of your day. And yeah, thanks for listening, folks. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Yes, guys. Buenas noches.
Bye.